to invite our scouts forward to lead us in the pledge. Thank you, gentlemen. Would you like to introduce yourselves or tell us what troop you're from?
First class.
Joshua Warrenly, Troop 622.
Caleb Frillis, Troop 622. Life.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. It's a pleasure to have you here. At this time, we'll move to the report out of closed session. Clerk Zane.
Thank you, Madam President. Closed session began at 4:07 p.m. With regard to item 2.1A1 in the matter of pending existing litigation, case number 201-909-1095 on a motion by Zane and a second by Couvret. The board voted to approve the final settlement. The vote of the board was as follows. Ayes, Patel, Beatty, Zane, Couvret, O'Connor, Ratcliffe. Noes. The vote was unanimous. Item 2.1A2 in the matter of pending existing litigation, case number 2019-100-760 on a motion by Zane and a second by Patel. The board voted to unanimously to approve the final settlement with the ayes Patel, Beatty, Zane, Couvret, O'Connor, Ratcliffe. Item 2.2A in the matter of anticipated litigation, certificated employee on a motion by Patel and a second by Couvret. The board voted to approve the settlement agreement between employee ID number 106261 and the district restoring the employee to permanent status with related rights. The vote of the board was unanimous. Patel, Beatty, Zane, Couvret, and O'Connor, Ratcliffe voting aye. No reportable action for item 2.2B. No reportable action for 2.4A. With regard to item 2.5A, in the matter of public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment, resignation, non-reelection, classified employee, on a motion by Beatty and a second by Patel, the board voted to impose a termination for a classified employee. The vote of the board was unanimous. Patel, Beatty, Zane, Couvret, and O'Connor, Ratcliffe voting aye. Item 2.6A in the matter of public employee employment, certificated management, on a motion by Patel and a second by Couvret. The board voted to take action in closed session to appoint Kimmy Lochtefeld as Executive Director 2, Learning Support Services. The vote of the board was unanimous. Patel, Beatty, Zane, Couvret, O'Connor, Ratcliffe voting aye. Last item, 2.6B, no reportable action. Closed session adjourned at 5:30 p.m. And that's the end of the report.
Thank you very much. And just, is Ms. Lochtefeld still here? Go ahead.
We'd like to just welcome you to Poway Unified, Ms. Lochtefeld, and to welcome you to Team PUSD. Congratulations.
Item 3.3, members in attendance. We've got everybody here tonight, from our student board member on down. For our welcome to the public, student board member Ms. Akins.
Thank you. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. If you would like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker's slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the clerk of the board before the agenda item comes up. If you are requesting an agenda item be pulled for public discussion from Section 5.0, Consent Calendar, a speaker slip must be submitted to the clerk now, as approval of the consent calendar is one of the first items up for approval. Item 4.2 is placed on our agenda to enable members of our community to bring items that are not placed anywhere else on the agenda to the board's attention. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 15 minutes per topic unless waived by the board president. There will be a 30-second yellow warning light when time is running out. Speakers may only speak on the topic under item 4.2 and may not defer their speaking time to another individual. If there are concerns regarding specific individuals, it is preferred that the speaker refrain from naming them publicly to respect their privacy. The board will accept and review any written materials that would provide more specific information. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that said, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Item 3.5 is approval of the agenda sequence. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
I got a motion by Dr. Patel, second by Ms. Couvret. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I don't want to forget our student preferential vote. Aye. All right. Any opposed? All right, that is unanimous. That takes us to our student board representatives. I see 3 of you. I have, oh no, nope, I see more. Okay, let's start with Westview High School. Dean Olson. Welcome.
Good evening, PUSD board members, staff, students, and members of the community. My name is Dean Olson, and it is an honor and a pleasure to report to you about the status and current campus climate of Westview High School. So much has happened in the last couple of months, and it has been amazing to see our school come together in so many ways. The week before winter break, ASB students woke up early Wednesday morning and prepared a pancake and waffle breakfast complimentary to all staff. That Friday, we hosted an ugly sweater spirit day and gave out free hot chocolate out of our student store, accompanied with snow machines blasting out snow from the roof. Our sophomore class presidents finished up the annual dodgeball tournament, lasting 2 weeks with 22 teams of 10 players each. Westview classmates came out and supported friends during lunch, and in the end, the team Nellie's Deli took the championship home. New to this year, the victors also received a champion dodgeball letterman patch. Westview Dance Troupe had their winter show Wednesday through Friday the week before break. They had a great turnout, and the theme this year was 'Tis the Season. Our Westview students have also been performing extremely well in various performing arts. Band performed a parade at Disneyland this past Saturday and had their winter show, Dashing Through the Snow, December 11th through 13th. Westview Improv will be having a battle with Mount Carmel's improv team January 24th in the Westview Theater at 7 p.m. And Westview Theater Company's next performance will be Kiss Me Kate, a classical musical that follows the onstage and offstage drama of a production of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. The first show will be on February 6th. Westview sports are also performing at top standards. Girls basketball are currently 18th in the state and 52nd in the nation, and our boys soccer team for power rankings are number 11 in the state and are second in their league. As my presidency has come to an end today, over the past year, I hope my legacy of promoting inclusiveness and encouraging students to share their voice, while overall making everyone's Westview experience the best it can be, will resonate long after my reign. I appreciate your time this evening, and the upcoming ASP President, Audrey Tu, will be continuing to report on the student life and culture at Westview High School for the next year. It has always been a pleasure to celebrate the accomplishments of our Wolverines. Thank you for your time.
From Poway High School, Lucy Barreto.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here tonight. Poway High has had an eventful past couple of months. After returning from Thanksgiving break, we hosted our Toys for Tots drive. As a school, we donated approximately 150 brand new toys to local families in need for the holidays. Our school also participated in an Adopt a Family program designed to help support local families meet their holiday needs. Before the week of winter break, ASB hosted our annual Winter Spirit Week full of winter-themed lunch activities and Spirit Day dress-up days. Our choir and band programs hosted not only independent musical performances, but also ended the week with a collaborative showcase with both parents and students. Our winter athletic programs are off to a great start. Poway Dance Project had their first competition in Las Vegas, placing in first place in all 6 dance categories. Our wrestling team also placed first in the Reno Tournament of Champions, the Cerritos Tournament of Champions, and this past weekend at the Temecula Battle for Belts. They are currently ranked 11th in the nation and are moving up 2 spots from their previous ranking. Boys and girls basketball, as well as boys and girls soccer, are also excelling. Currently, our drama and choir programs are preparing to debut their spring musical, The Music Man, opening in February. This month, ASB holds elections for the new class of 2020. Before ASB class of 2019 comes to a close, we head into our home stretch as we plan our annual Titans United Week. This year's slogan is Titans Grows Together, focusing on kindness, community, and to build a strong Titan leaders. Part of this week includes our annual sophomore assembly. We are excited to welcome Esteban Gas from Character Strong, who will address students on the importance of diversity and how inclusivity can be achieved through kindness. We are also in the middle of planning our annual Titan Times Assembly. This is a production hosted by seniors to celebrate Titan Pride and honor our winter sports program as well as clubs on campus. This year's theme is Phineas and Ferb, which is a cartoon from our childhood. At the beginning of the year, we unveiled our Titan Center, a unique place on campus where students can connect, find information about colleges, scholarships, and clubs on campus. This has become an extremely popular place on campus for our students to gather. Our wonderful career guidance tech has started Trade Thursdays. Each week, students can learn from experienced tradespeople from their respective professions. We have had the opportunity to hear from an auto and motorcycle technician, wastewater technician, and a 911 emergency operator. The center has become a focal point on campus, and we are excited to see how it grows and succeeds. Thank you for having me tonight, and I look forward to our March meeting.
All right, let's finish off with the high schools. Rancho Bernardo High School with Christina Hartley. Welcome.
Good evening, board members and all in attendance. Since it has been a little while, Happy New Year. With the end of 2019 and the start of a new decade, our Broncos have been keeping busy. We had a very positive fall and early winter season with an outstanding attendance at homecoming. Successful fall sports season with girls golf surpassing the state record for most consecutive wins, and a very successful band tournament season. Our foundation had their first ever Hall of Fame induction ceremony where 5 individuals were recognized for their achievements and contributions to RBHS. We have started this year by recognizing students who have demonstrated the characteristics of being stable, which is the acronym we use when we talk about the RBHS experience. We had a number of fun activities in October, including mummifying the admin and Mr. Lemaster. In addition, RBHS hosted the PUSD College Fair, and there was a great turnout. Our first No Place for Hate activity was held in November, and we had a number of students and staff attend this year's No Place for Hate conference. The Human Relations Conference was held in November as well, and brought sophomores together with the goal of breaking down the walls and barriers. Dance, choir, band, and orchestra put on an amazing winter concert, and the week before break, ASB had candygrams available, gave out free hot cocoa before school, and made it snow at RBHS. Some fun things that our Broncos are looking forward to is finals this week, which will lead to the start of our second term course when we get back from the 3-day weekend. January 25th, we will be having our winter dance, and this year's theme is Bronco Bowl in celebration of the Super Bowl. Students will wear their favorite sports team jersey apparel and enjoy an evening with friends. Our second No Place for Hate activity is scheduled for January 29th and will focus on social media and its impact on prejudice and bias. For the month of February, our Black Student Union will be hosting events throughout the month to celebrate and recognize the accomplishments and achievements of African Americans. RBHS has its WASC accreditation visit starting March 1st, and we are all excited to welcome the visiting committee that Sunday. The Safe Promise Club is working on presenting a school-wide lesson during the See Something, Say Something week, the first week of March. Lastly, our winter sports are headed into league competition, and spring sport tryouts will start the first week of February. Since this is sadly my last board report, I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to talk about the RB experience and representing RBHS this past year. However, I know the new president, Amy Nguyen, will do an outstanding job. Once again, thank you and have a great rest of your evening.
And last but not least, representing Willow Grove Elementary, we have Asher Hanneman and Lila Hanaz. Did I say that right? You giggled. You can correct me.
Hello, I'm Asher Hanneman, the Student Council President for Willow Grove Elementary.
And I am Lila Hannes, the Student Council Vice President.
Willow Grove is a gold ribbon school, a California Distinguished School, and an honor roll school. We currently have 835 students, and we're known for being a kind and caring school.
We are excited about some of the things we have implemented at our school. Our main focus this year is how we can be role models for being a kind and caring school. At every student council meeting, we lead our representatives in activities and projects that will enhance our caring community.
For example, we made gratitude posters for every class on campus. The students were able to write what they were thankful for using whiteboard markers during the month of November. It was fun to see what new things kids added each week to the sign.
In December, all of our representatives made cards for our classified staff. Each card was colorfully made and held a kind message of appreciation for all that they do on campus. Our officers loved passing them out and seeing how happy the staff members felt when they received it.
Student Council is also responsible for community outreach by holding a food drive in November and December for Feeding San Diego. Our officers made signs and placed them around the campus, encourage high participation. This is one of the leading hunger relief charities in San Diego, and we are excited to see how many pounds of food we were able to collect.
In the spring, we plan to partner with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for a fundraising and awareness campaign. We also have some fun activities planned for the Kindness Week, and we host Spirit Days to show our school spirit.
Additionally, as Student Council officers, we do announcements every week and lead the school-wide Friday flag once a month.
We are proud to represent Willow Grove. Go Grizzlies!
Guys, that was fabulous. Thank you all so much for being here and reporting it for your schools. If you have things to do, I know we had at least a couple of you who have finals this week. You're welcome to head out that door. If you want to stick around, if you got this, yeah. Oh my gosh, all right. It was lovely of you guys to take time out of studying. Thank you for being here. All right. All right, well, now that there's a lot of space left over, we're ready for our public comments. Agenda item 4.2, I will turn it over to Clerk Zane.
Thank you, Madam President. I think the high schoolers ought to be grateful that the elementary schoolers go after, because they're a tough act to follow. I mean, they do a great job. I think we have two speakers combined for the first public speakers today, and I love the subject written down. School improvement project was my Eagle Scout project, so I would like to call up Jimmy Hernandez and Cheryl Hernandez to speak about Eagle Project facilities at RB High.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to be speaking while I show off the video. So this was my Eagle Scout project, which stemmed from, well, first I'll introduce it by showing you that's what our facility and dressing rooms used to look like. They were in quite a poor condition, holes in the wall and such. So as we were gathering materials, a lot occurred to me. So these facilities have never been touched since the opening of that Performing Arts Center with the opening of the school in the year 1990. And so I never considered it a lack of care or attention, but more of just unawareness. So when I brought my principal back there to show him the condition that these rooms were in, he had never been back there before, ever, in those rooms. And so we were just totally unaware of how poor these rooms were treated. So I feel like, as the drama is often overlooked and such, I think it deserved a renovation and deserved a new look and a new, so we can use it. It keeps getting used every year and year and year. And since I've built these rooms about a year ago, more like 9 months ago, they've been used for 3 shows. They've been used for choir shows and everything like that. And so it took me 7 days Actually, it took me longer than that. I started on Thursday, I think it was April 11th, and I finished on the morning of Easter, which was, I believe, 8 or 9 days later, and I worked at least 6 hours every day. The longest I worked was a 10-hour day, trying to get, because there was a lot to do. There was drywall to install, we had to build countertops, we had to put down tiles. Tiles took a long time, and we had to scrape all the goop off the floor after tearing up the carpet. So the final project ended up taking, in combined hours of all our contributors, took over, I think, 1,076 man hours, or around that. And so we finished on the morning of Easter by putting the ceiling tiles in place. And it was already in use the Monday, the next day. So as these are pictures of the final product.
That looks amazing. Can I just say that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we can hire all the Eagle Scouts. If the Measure P passes, they can do all of those projects at all of our schools.
So I chose it because it was something very close and personal to me, and I think it deserved more than it got. Drama deserves more than it got, and that's what I'm here to represent, is not only the Boy Scouts, but drama.
Having attended shows there from the house, you would never know what's going on backstage. But I guess now we know how much better it looks. So thank you again. Wow.
I think what he meant to say, he supervised all of that activity as an Eagle Scout candidate. He didn't actually do all the work. He supervised it. Right? Yeah. Our next speaker is Janet Latang.
Thanks for the great lead-in. Happy New Year, Superintendent Kim Phelps, Superintendent's Council, and trustees. It's one of our favorite times of the year when hundreds of PUSD students are hard at work preparing to perform or accrue in their high school musical. It is time to check your calendar and buy your tickets for this year's PUSD high school musicals, which are The Music Man, presented by Poway High School, and Mamma Mia, presented by Del Norte High School. Both of these musicals will be performed January 31st, February 1st, 7th, and 8th. Kiss Me Kate will be presented by Westview High School February 6th, 7th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. West Side Story will be presented by Carmel High School March 5th, 6th, 7th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. And Guys and Dolls will be presented by Rancho Bernardo High School April 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I know that all these students participating in their musical appreciate your support by coming to their performances. Each year, many of these PUSD theater groups and performing artists win local theater awards and recognition, and several senior students will choose to continue performing in college and in professional theater. Come watch them perform now while they're in high school, and you'll be able to say, I saw them win. And also the tickets are a lot cheaper now than on Broadway. I have handed out to the Superintendent's Council and the trustees a calendar with all the dates and times and ticket information. Now is a great time to remind the community that the district does have a VAPA calendar, and the link for the calendar can be found on the district's Learning Support Services page. Right now, 2 of these musicals are on the district VAPA calendar, and I bet the other 3 will be added soon since I have given you the musicals calendar information. In order for me to find the information for the 3 musicals not listed on the PUSD VAPA calendar, I needed to do some internet searches for each school's theater group. Even then, I could not find the name of one of the missing musicals, so I contacted several friends until I found out the name of the musical. I'm happy to track down this information for you, as I am passionate about supporting the arts in PUSD. However, I look forward to the district selecting a VAPA coordinator in the near future who will be able to support each of our district's VAPA programs. I encourage each of you to make plans now to take your family and friends out to enjoy at least one of these wonderful musicals. I know our performing arts students and their hardworking teachers appreciate your support. Thank you.
Janet, you just saved me some time. I just looked and there were only 2. I wrote down the 2 that were there, but you saved me some time now. I will try to be at all 5 again this year.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Next speaker is Rhonda Petrosky.
Good evening. I'm Rhonda Petrosky. I'm representing Palomar Council PTA tonight. 9th District PTA has announced their reflections judging results, and once again, Palomar Council PTA schools did very well. Out of the 60 pieces we forwarded, 11 were given an award of excellence by the district and sent to California State PTA for judging. This is out of only 23 total awards of excellence at the district level, which is all of San Diego and Imperial counties. Excuse me. Approximately 130 families attended our art show on December 3rd, and we would like to thank Carol Osborne for attending to show support for our amazing artists. We would also like to thank Michelle O'Connor Ratcliffe for attending 9th District PTA's Legislative Symposium on December 9th. We hope you found it informative and time well spent. The Adopt a Family program is a joint effort between PTA and the PUSD Foundation. This holiday season, all 39 PUSD schools ran Adopt a Family program, and 551 families were sponsored in total. 258 of those families were sponsored by the school sites, and 293 were adopted out to private donors from the community. All of those families' wish lists were filled by the amazing Dorinda Suchek and her small but mighty band of volunteers. The committee would like to extend sincere thanks to Patty Hurt, the New Directions principal, and the whole Alternative Programs office staff at the Twin Peaks Center for being so accommodating and allowing the use of their office space to house the donations. On Monday, Palomar Council PTA board members Jen Bowles and Tova Terranova flew to Sacramento to attend the annual California State PTA Legislative Conference. This sold-out event with over 150 attendees provides a crash course in how the current state budget and legislation may impact California children and families. Tuesday, Jen and Tova had the pleasure of meeting with Senator Brian Jones and Assemblymember Brian Mainshine to advocate on behalf of California children. Topics discussed include increasing the base grant funding for all California schools to places in the top 10 states. We're currently about 41st. The impact of human trafficking through active school campus recruitment of children and recruitment through social media apps such as TikTok. Improving literacy of all children, including those with decoding differences such as dyslexia, through evidence-based reading curriculum. Providing more resources for mental health through additional school counselors, and partnering with local mental health services by way of community schools, and improving funding fairness across California schools. And last but certainly not least, I'm happy to announce that Palomar Council PTA unanimously approved endorsing Measure P, the school bond measure, on the March ballot. We would like to thank Christine Peck for all of her help over winter break in getting us the documentation we needed to present the information to the unit presidents this past Tuesday, and for Dr. Kim Feltz for attending the meeting and speaking about this issue as well. Palomar Council PTA believes passing this bond measure is crucial to the success and safety of all students within PUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is it John LaPiccolo?
I can't believe you said my name right. Actually, it's not that hard. If you take the L-O off, it's Piccolo, and yes, I'm a musician. It hasn't done me harm over my life. First of all, thank you all very much for allowing me to speak, Madam President. I am extremely passionate about the things that I have done in my life. I'm 68 years old. I know I don't look a day over 67, but most of those were spent in music, if not totally. What I do, I'm consumed by it. I believe in it. It's the only thing that has given me a wonderful feeling about life, and I've taught all my life, and I've seen what's happening. I'm going off my script because I hate to read stuff that I'm really passionate about. Here's the deal. The deal is I moved here 6 years ago, never knowing that I would ever conduct a symphony orchestra again. I was retired. However, an opportunity came. And not only that we have the most fantastic hall with which to perform in. When things disappear in music, it's my experience that it's very hard to get them back. So I know the enormous task that you are up against and having to deal with the situation of the Poway the Poway Center for the Arts. We did, or we do, 3 concerts a year. We, of course, would like to do more. I can only tell you that our last performance, as of November 24th, was completely sold out. A few years ago, no one even knew that Poway had a symphony, and part of the hook is that we have a most beautiful hall to perform in. We've got to make this thing work, and the Poway Symphony is willing to help in any way that we can. I've done this all my life. I know what's involved. There are things that perhaps some of you may not understand or it's never been brought to your attention, and if I spend 1 second on that, it might give you another eye into the situation. Here's a very quick example. The symphony has just been recently sponsored for concerts. That means they picked up the tab between $3,000 and $5,000, which is the most unbelievable thing. That's number one. When this person comes to me and says, I would like to have a pianist, and I go get the world's greatest pianist, or one of the world's greatest pianists, which has already happened. That was our second sold-out performance. We cannot provide these people with an upright piano at Westview High School. You see, they come in, we have to rehearse with them. The center is the only place that has these professional facilities. We can't be wondering if I'm to come out and conduct, are the house lights off? Is the sound going? Is this and that? There are so many things involved, and the task is enormous. I'm running out of time. I just want you to know that I appreciate your help and your support. I'm from out of state. Again, I've just moved here, but what you have is a gem and a gold mine, and we must keep it. I've come from places that had these things, lost them, and they're gone forever. We must not let that happen. You heard every little person that came up here from elementary to high school was telling you about all these incredible performances. That is remarkable. Music changed lives.
Thank you, sir. The last speaker is a familiar name, Christine Peck.
I paid them to do that. I told them, you better clap when I come up. Dear Dr. Phelps, Cabinet, board members, I wanted to take this opportunity to publicly acknowledge our Studio 701 interns for the 2019-2020 school year. You know, the last few years we waited to introduce them until the end of the meeting, but as you well know, the end of the meeting is a guessing game, and so we invited them during public comments, and so here we are. Next slide. For the past several months, at every Board of Education meeting, you've enjoyed high-quality, professional videos created by our interns. Most of them are here in the audience today, and I'll introduce them shortly. From our very first meeting in August to the present, they've been telling our story. You saw them at our CTE Expo, State of the District event. They highlighted the Abraxas Transition Program, our district's Mindful Moment, and other social emotional wellness efforts. And they helped with the Back to School music video. I know you guys love that video. They've invited guest speakers, they'll go on field trips, and will serve as mentors next week to elementary and middle school students at a joint event with Apple. Their passion and commitment to photography, video, graphic design, film, it extends beyond this internship. Among them, we have an Ivy Student Video Festival winner. We have PBS and NBC interns, live show directors, designer for a huge NCAA sports program. Their list of accomplishments goes on, and you know from my voice and my face how proud I am of them. I feel like their mom. We know they're awesome because they had to apply for this internship, and they were selected out of dozens of applicants across PUSD. So at this time, when I call your name, please stand. Is Natalie Donham here? No, she is working. Gabriel Tolo? Woo! Isabella Damos? Damian Henson. Chad Cushing. Yunso Sak. And Kate On. Thank you all for your fabulous work, and we look forward to the future stories that you will tell for us and beyond in your future careers. At this time, Dr. Phelps and President O'Connor Ratcliffe, if you wouldn't mind stepping down for a quick photo, because I promised them they would get a photo with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peck, and thank you for gaming the public comment portion of the meeting.
Good job, you guys.
Madam President, that concludes public comments.
Thank you, Clerk Zane. That brings us to 4.3, which is a presentation from Live Well San Diego, or regarding Live Well San Diego Partnership. Mr. Mizell.
So in November, the Poway Unified School District entered into a partnership with the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency and Live Well San Diego. As you will recall, this partnership will expand opportunities for PUSD staff to work with professionals throughout the region, increasing points of contact, access to research, as well as county resources. So please join me now in welcoming Chuck Matthews, Director of North County Region's Health and Human Services Agency, and Victoria Floyd, Representative from San Diego County Board of Supervisors Diane Jacobs' office, to present their proclamation to Poway Unified School District.
Hi. Oops, sorry about that. Good evening, everybody. Just thrilled to be here to honor, celebrate, and welcome this board as a partner for this region. And actually, I'm going to go off script a little bit. I just want to say, being here just at the beginning, I've worked with and been with a lot of different communities and boards, and just seeing the culture and the tone that you guys set here, and your student representatives, and I'm just in awe, quite frankly. And again, even more thrilled to have you as a partner. There's ingredients that go into that. I know. There's lots that goes into that, but it's very obvious. And to me, to be honest, it really reflects Live Well. I'm not going to go into any technical aspects of that, but I mean, it really gets to the heart. You know, if we're going to impact the health, the well-being, and ensure people thrive and communities thrive, you know, we got to do that together. We can't do it in silos. You know, the board can't do it on their own. The city can't. The county can't. Nonprofits cannot do it on their own. We can only do that by doing it together, by working together. And quite frankly, that's the heart of Live Well. And that's why we seek out partners who admit that, you know, live by that, and run their organizations like that. And that's obvious. That's what you guys do. So we, again, wanted to come here and celebrate that. And thank you so much for that, and look forward to the future. We've always worked together, but it's nice to make it official. And with that, I want to turn that over to us. The leadership is our Board of Supervisors that really set that policy and ensure we do that, and that goes for Supervisor Diane Jacob, and we're thrilled to have Tori Floyd here from her office to present the proclamation for you guys.
Yes, I'm thrilled to be here to do so. And with that, it is recognized that Poway Unified School District is aligned with the vision of Live Well San Diego by inspiring students and preparing them to thrive in college, career, and life. The district has committed to safe environments by engaging students in California Highway Patrol's Start Smart program every 15 minutes and proactive disaster preparedness programs. The district has prioritized bullying prevention and improving communication through implementing the nationally recognized Character Counts framework, in addition to conflict resolution, No Place for Hate, and Breaking Down the Walls programs. To promote health and wellness, the district builds and sustains partnerships to promote the mental well-being of students and staff. One such example is your partnership with Live Well San Diego for May is Mental Health Month and Check Your Mood Day. We thank you for your support of these county-wide awareness campaigns and look forward to continued collaborations. For these reasons and more, we are proud to have Poway Unified School District join us to support Live Well San Diego in our collective efforts to make San Diego County healthy, safe, and thriving. We look forward to a strong collaborative partnership as we continue to move Live Well San Diego forward. It is now my pleasure to present this proclamation on behalf of the County of San Diego in recognition of your support for Live Well. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Chairman Greg Cox and all members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors on this 16th day of January 2020 that they commend Poway Unified School District for outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the health and wellness of county residents, and do hereby declare this day to be the Poway Unified School District Live Well San Diego Day. So thank you so much. We couldn't be more grateful to you all. Sure.
Yeah, we gotta get a picture.
Thank you, Mr. Mizell, for getting them on our agenda. That's a treat. This takes us to approval of our consent calendar. I'll start at the end. Is there anything you would like to pull off consent?
If I can start real quick, staff would like to pull 5.7B for board's discussion.
Okay. After we pull other things. After we pull other things. Okay. Ms. Akins, is there anything you'd like to pull? No.
Nothing to pull.
Nothing to pull.
Okay, that means 5.7B is the only one. Is there a motion to approve with the exception of 5.7B?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It was revised as a new one, which I assume is why we're going to pull it and talk about it. Yeah. All right, and I'm sorry, that was a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel. Any discussion? All right, we'll go to our, we don't have a preferential vote on this one, do we? No. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously, and let's move to 5.7B. All right, this is approval to change the regular scheduled Thursday, February 13, 2020 board meeting to Monday, February 10th, 2020. Dr. Phelps.
Yes, staff would like to recommend that we change the regularly scheduled board meeting from Thursday, February 13, 2020 to Monday, February 10th, 2020 due to multiple absences on that scheduled date.
Any questions?
So I have a question. Aren't we required by the Brown Act to have agenda items put on at least 72 hours in advance? So wouldn't that be an issue with adding this agenda item?
No, we consulted an attorney and he said it's really more for information so long as the board just has discussion and then can vote on it. To just make that change.
Okay, but this isn't information, this is an action item, and any item, even just a discussion item, let alone an action item that's on the docket, we require to give the public 72 hours notice. So I don't believe that we're in compliance with the Brown Act by adding this within that 72-hour period.
perhaps get some clarification on that, come back to that before the end of the meeting? Just push this agenda item to later in the meeting and to get clarification, verification on that in the meantime?
So point of clarification then, do we need to go back and make a modification to the agenda to postpone it, or?
I think we're doing that right now.
Right.
All right, so is that a motion then? Do we need a second?
Sure, let's do it. Go ahead.
So can we postpone this agenda item until we get clarification? I'll make that motion.
Or we're tabling it, I guess.
Postponing it till...
Postponing it. I don't want to table
toward
it.
the end of this meeting?
Yes.
To get clarification?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion on that? We're waiting for clarification. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'm sorry, I should have asked for a preferential vote on this one. Aye. Okay, so that's unanimous. We will postpone this until we have additional information. Okay, then. That takes us to 6.1. Approval of new classification of emergency planning and preparedness specialist and reclassification of prevention specialist grant researcher to new classification. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam President. Due to the evolving job requirements and duties of the position title Prevention Specialist Grant Researcher, that over the last 2 years, the Personnel Commission has determined that this position is no longer appropriately classified. Many of the duties previously performed in this position were attributed to grants that have since expired over time, while additional duties have been added to this classification. The new position, entitled the Emergency Planning and Preparedness Specialist, will support the areas of significant need, such as disaster and safety preparedness, crisis intervention, and violence prevention, to support our school site program needs to improve student mental health and school safety. The Student Support Services Department provided input and confirmed that this job classification more accurately describes the work that is currently required for our emergency preparedness programs. It's recommended that the board approve the duties and responsibilities of the classification statement and a recommendation placed on range 36 on the attached salary schedule. The fiscal impact is $7,252 in compensation plus statutory benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Are there any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. And this one. 6.2. This is a public hearing and approval of initial proposal from the Board of Education to Poway Federation of Teachers, second reading. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam President. At the December 19th board meeting, the Board of Trustees received, for informational purposes, the district's initial proposal to sunshine articles for negotiation with our Poway Federation of Teachers. Our negotiations will begin at the end of this month with a training for interest-based bargaining, and then continue through February, March, and May with the dates that we have scheduled. This evening is a two-step process to allow a public hearing, to allow comment by the public on our initial proposal, and secondly, to allow the Board of Trustees to approve the initial proposal to begin negotiations.
So at this time, I will call the public hearing to order at 6:51 p.m. And Clerk Zane, are there any speakers on this issue?
There are not.
Okay, with that, I will close this public hearing at 6:51. And moving right along, are there any questions or questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Dr. Patel. Is there any discussion on this? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you. And 6.3. Initial proposal to sunshine articles for contract negotiations from the Poway Federation of Teachers 2020-2021. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you. So yes, this is the sunshine proposal from our Poway Federation of Teachers. and the articles that they've identified as interest in bargaining. This evening is the opportunity for the board to receive their proposal for informational purposes. There's no need for the board to take action, as this allows us to open negotiations, as I stated earlier, at the end of this month and continue into the month of February.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Jimenez? All right, seeing none, this is an information item, no vote. Moving to 7.1, this is information and presentation on the 2020-2021 Governor's Budget Proposal. Mr. Little, this is an exciting one. Bring it.
I'm glad you're excited, Madam President. Thank you for the introduction. This evening, we would like to update the board with respect to the Governor's Budget Proposal for 2020-21. You'll, of course, recall this is the first step in a 6-month-long process culminating in a state budget act that will be proposed and passed in June of 2020. There we go. In preparing for this evening's presentation, staff came across varying perspectives represented in these quotations related to the Governor's Budget Proposal, and we thought we'd share them with you just to provide you a sense of the preliminary analysis, a little bit of flavor of how people are interpreting the budget. This evening we'll briefly cover these topics, as we do every year. So 10.5 years into the current economic expansion, California's economy remains strong. Employment rates, of course, are down, the lowest since 2010. Unemployment rates are down. Tax receipts are up. Economic growth continues, albeit tempering, and the state prudently has established solid reserve levels in anticipation of the next downturn, which, of course, we've been hearing is coming right any day now. We shared this slide with you last year, you may or may not remember, and the risks to continued economic growth remain basically unchanged. I think the only one we added 2 to the bottom. One are the catastrophic wildfires that the governor has referenced in the budget, and Middle East instability under the UCLA's caveats. Since the recession of 2008, state revenues have increased nearly 87%, from approximately $78 billion to $146 billion. The Department of Finance projects that a significant economic downturn could result in revenue decrease of nearly $20 billion, obviously, as demonstrated by this chart of current annual revenues. This is about 20% of the current annual revenues in a recession that we would lose, taking us back to 2017, 2018 levels. Of course, that's why the state is shoring up those reserve levels. Turning to the governor's budget proposal for next year, tracking projected GDP growth, the governor's proposed budget assesses increasing revenues at 3.5% in 2020-21. Year-over-year increase, with proposed expenditures increasing by 2.2%. Under his proposed budget, as we mentioned, the rainy day fund level would grow by nearly $2 billion to 11.8% of estimated revenues. This represents, by all accounts, a prudent and healthy reserve level. The governor's budget proposal includes significant resources dedicated for improving health care, addressing the homeless crisis in the state, and tackling environmental issues. In addition, of course, additional one-time and ongoing revenues are provided to K-12 education through our Prop 98 funding. I list some numbers there for you from his budget. Here we delineate the governor's proposal for 2020-21 for education. So you'll note a 3% increase in Prop 98 funding, LCFF augmentation of about $1.2 billion, which includes a 2.29% COLA, cost of living adjustment, $900 million for educator recruitment training, $900 million increase for special ed, which we'll look at a little bit closer in a minute, $300 million for extended supports and services for low-performing schools, $300 million for mental health in community schools, and then $70 million to enhance the school meal programs across the state. Here's a 12-year history of Prop 98 funding. Recall, obviously, that we, K-12s, share Prop 98 funds with community colleges. Since a low of $47.3 billion in 2011-2012, we will have increased Prop 98 funding by nearly 78% in 2021. And yet, as you know, many districts throughout the state find it difficult to keep pace with the rising costs. Based on the governor's proposal, LCFF funding will increase nearly 2% year over year and 38% since this slide goes back in 2014-2015. So what this tells us really is that a lot of the Prop 98 increase over the past decade has been one-time money. We've included this chart just as a reminder of how quickly the state budget surplus can turn into deficits. We who lived through that decade of deficits know how difficult it was and how tough it was to last that decade, and those were some huge deficits. So the good news is we're in an upward trajectory, and the surpluses, while conservative, continue to exist. Turning our attention to special education, on a positive note, the governor proposes enhancing our funding for special education in 2021. We're looking at a new special ed formula that increases the base. It would be based on a 3-year rolling average of enrollment in special ed. Obviously, for a district like Poway, who's been increasing in special ed year over year, that's a good thing. That would help us. There's also a 15% increase in resources applied to that base formula, again, which would be a significant boost to our special ed resources in our program. There's also additional one-time funds targeted to special ed preschool pupils, $4 million for research related to dyslexia, and another $1 million or so geared towards SELPA governance. All right, so turning sort of to the bottom line and how the governor's budget impacts our district, I just want to mention the points on the slide here obviously deal with the general fund, but the school nutrition funding, obviously, that we would receive, we will report on later as we get more details. We didn't include that in this slide again because this is a general fund focus. But working through the list here, so the COLA, even though it's a good COLA, it's less than what we were projecting based on School Services of California projections. So as you know, they're sort of who we use as we look ahead in our multi-year projections. They were estimating a 3% COLA next year, and that's what we used in building the budgets since now. So we lose a little bit money there. Same with special ed. Again, the COLA is a little less than what we were projecting based on those assumptions. The one-time funding, you'll remember we had some funding this year for preschool special ed. We built that in the budget as one-time funding. So we pulled it back out for next year. Now we're going to add it back in at $45.70 per pupil. That's about $1.5 million of additional funding. Based on the new special ed formula, we'd be looking at about $2 million more in special ed funding next year. And so all of those numbers and some others look like about a $1 million net increase next year over what we currently were expecting. Given that, we'd still be obviously, we'll revise the numbers, bring it back a second interim. Our deficit that we were looking at first interim, will be slightly better based on these numbers. But again, more information to follow in March. All right, so next steps, as usual, the Budget and Finance subcommittees deliberate on the governor's proposal. Our planning team and our finance team is working hard to look at our district enrollment projections. They're supposed to be finalized this month. So we'll hope to see a little bit more growth than the 0.5% that we've built into the budget. So we'll build that into our second interim report. We begin our budget development conversations in February. Cabinet's going to just begin those conversations this month. As I mentioned, second interim back to the board in March. Of course, the governor's May revision in May. The California legislature passes the budget bill by June 15th, and then, of course, we bring our budget probably for a first reading in early June and a second reading and adoption in late June. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Going back to slide 9, when you mentioned the $70 million to enhance school meal programs, do we have an idea of whether that's going to fall based on socioeconomic status or children with needs? They already get a lot of federal money, or is this going to be evenly distributed through all the school districts?
It doesn't. There's not a lot of detail yet about the program. What they do say is that the concept and the goal of the funding is to enhance and improve the quality of school lunches.
Across the board.
So that would imply to me, at least, that that's across the board to all school districts.
Let's cross our fingers.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was just, does anybody, do you remember the early days of Mr. Little's tenure? We'd like find millions. I mean, that just stopped. He just stopped finding money for us.
This is the governor's budget. This isn't Ron's budget.
Well, next meeting, Mr. Little, we expect you to find millions for us.
Do you know if there's any talk at all about adjusting that special education funding to perhaps move away from ADA a little bit? I know that they're one of our groups of students who tend to be a little bit more medically fragile. Basing all our funding on ADA, it doesn't mean we don't have to pay the teacher that day when a couple students don't show up. Our costs are identical whether the children are in their chairs or not. Is there any talk about changing the measure of funding away from ADA?
As you know, those conversations have been going on in Sacramento for some time. And actually, the governor's proposal is based on recommendations from at least 2 different subcommittees on special education. And maybe Mr. Mazzell can add to this. But I have not seen any recommendations from any of the subcommittees that talk about changing the funding model and moving away from an ADA basis. But maybe someone else knows something.
No, I agree. I have not either.
Ms. Beatty.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think it was definitely a political move to try to cure high rates of absenteeism at certain schools, so across the state. So that would be definitely a big change. But I agree with you. It'd be better for us.
For all of for everything out there saying how great this budget is for education, it doesn't look that great for us so far. So I hope these numbers do change a little bit when the legislature gets a hold of his budget and they can understand that this really doesn't hit a lot of districts in the state, including ours. So anyway, any other questions or comments for Mr. Little? No? Okay. Thank you.
So, Madam President, I do have an answer in regards to 5.7B. Trustee Beatty was correct. Since we did miss posting this inside the 72 hours, we cannot any longer change that date. So the February board meeting will resume on Thursday, February 13th.
Thank you, Dr. Phelps. Okay, making a note of that, and okay, 8.1, we are in Learning Support Services territory here. 8.1, proposed adoption of new high school course, first reading. Ms. Osborne.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we bring forward a new course, Academic Literacy 3-4, which will provide an additional level of designated English language development, or ELD, instruction beyond the Academic Literacy 1-2 for our English learner students at all proficiency levels. Students must have designated ELD across every trimester, quarter, every year until they are reclassified in order to be in compliance with the state and federal regulations. This is a first reading for this course.
Any questions for Ms. Osborne? Thank you. I appreciate you answering my questions there about why it's being submitted for the UCG requirement rather than the UCB English requirement. So that, fantastic. I understand so much better now. Thank you very much. So moving on to your next item, Ms. Osborne, 8.2, update on Palomar Community College District and Poway Unified School District collaboration to open a middle college high school. This is, again, information and presentation, so no vote necessary on this item, but I'll turn it over to you again.
All right. Thank you very much. We are pleased tonight to bring information regarding our work toward opening a middle college high school with our partners, Palomar Community College District. Staff from Poway and Palomar have been working collaboratively to develop a vision and begin to work on key details to make the vision a reality. I would like to thank Executive Directors Kathleen Porter and Todd Casson for their commitment to this effort and all the work they have engaged in toward creating a middle college high school. I'd also like to thank Justin Smiley, who is here tonight from Palomar Community College District. Tonight, Kathleen Porter and Todd Casson will present us with information. At the end of the presentation, they'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. Good evening, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Phelps, cabinet members, and members of the audience. Mr. Casson and I are glad to be able to address you this evening. As you will remember, last May we had a special joint board meeting with Palomar Community College District to present an early concept of what a middle college might look like in our community. Tonight, it's our pleasure to provide you all with an update on the progress that has been made since that time to continue planning with the Poway Palomar Middle College. On August 1st, we held a design team meeting at the Rancho Bernardo Center. This meeting was facilitated by Dr. Steve Rieger with the Educators Cooperative and attended by a wide variety of stakeholders from both Poway and Palomar. One of the outcomes of the meeting was for the team to draft an outline and a table of contents for the white paper we planned to publish in September, and that's exactly what we did. The white paper was published on September 4th. The idea was to capture the middle college concepts in this document so we could begin to take a basic model to our stakeholders for feedback. From September through December, we held focus groups and received feedback from a wide variety of stakeholder groups, which we'll talk about in a minute. During this time, Palomar College Dean Justin Smiley and I also met several times with the business officers from both organizations, Ron Little and Stephen Garcia from Palomar, to begin to draft our business agreements and to consider costs for each organization in launching our middle college high school.
In developing a program like a middle college, it is always important to seek feedback from stakeholders across our system. We started with a broad representation on our design team and have continued to meet with stakeholders across Poway Unified to gather feedback and share the concept of a middle college. As we look more closely at the model being developed, we think it is important to share some key components. First is the fact that this would be an entirely new high school for the Poway Unified School District that would be located on the Palomar College Rancho Bernardo Education Center site. Students would be enrolled as full-time students and would not be attached to the other 6 high schools in our district. That means that students would not have access to the extracurricular programs found on our traditional sites, but would gain access to college courses and internship opportunities. We expect that our middle college would host 80 to 100 juniors and seniors per grade level, with the majority coming from our historically underserved student populations. In looking at a sample schedule, you can see how a typical week might break up for our students and staff. High school and college classes would take up 2 days, internships would take up another 2 days, and 1 day would be focused on elective and support classes. Students would be required to complete their English and social science classes as a cohort, with a Poway Unified provided instructor. The remainder of their high school graduation requirements would be met through the classes offered by Palomar Community College. As you can see, the model is very different from what you would find at most traditional high schools throughout our nation.
As noted earlier, we've had a series of meetings between Poway and Palomar business meetings. There are 2 business agreements that will guide our middle college work. The first is the College and Career Access Pathways Agreement, the CCAP agreement, which we're bringing forward to the board tonight for a first reading. The CCAP is a more high-level agreement that we'll look at in greater detail on the next slide. A second agreement is an affiliation and use of facilities agreement. This agreement will address some of the more granular operational and cost-sharing elements of our partnership. We're working diligently to finalize that agreement so we can bring it forward for your approval at the meeting in February. Authorized by AB 288, the purpose of the CCAP agreement is to expand dual enrollment opportunities for students who may not already be college-bound and/or who are historically underserved or underrepresented in post-secondary education. The legislation is intended to reduce fiscal penalties and policy barriers that may discourage dual enrollment opportunities, such as fees. There's also an assurance that classes offered cannot displace either high school or college faculty. The CCAP agreement we're bringing forward tonight for a first read in Agenda Item 8.3 addresses our middle college environment. It also establishes a 3-year pilot period for our middle college. Initially, in our middle college environment, we do not anticipate offering any closed college courses. In other words, we'll not offer any college courses exclusively to high school students. All of the college courses our high school students will take would be regular college courses that are open to other college students.
Looking forward, we will be requesting our board to review and approve both the CCAP and the affiliation facilities agreements being coordinated with our partners at Palomar Community College. Based upon the understanding that Palomar has previously approved both CCAP and business agreements with other districts, the plan is for our board to review the agreements and once Poway has approved, take them forward to Palomar for approval. We are hopeful that if the agreements receive approval from both boards of education, we will be able to move forward and begin recruitment efforts for both students and staff with the plan to open classes in the fall of 2020. Thank you for your time. Is there any questions?
Thank you. I have a bunch, but I'm going to move down the line first.
Ready to go? Hi, thank you for your presentation.
Hi, Mariana.
At the informational meeting at the beginning of the school year, we did mention the concern for school pride and just involvement on campus. So are we doing anything to remedy the lack of campus pride and culture that Poway Palomar students lose with the loss of extracurriculars?
I think that's something that when you looked at the schedule on Friday, when there are time for clubs, for our students to be able to meet together in clubs, but I think it's between the internships, the clubs, and the time that those students are together, we're going to create that culture, and that needs to be a focus, because if we don't have it, it starts to fall apart. So it really needs to be a focus from the beginning, and they work together to build that as they go through in this new model. But thank you.
So how will we motivate students that are at risk and who are underserved and underrepresented? How will we motivate those students to join the school?
I think that's where we reach out to the people that are on our sites right now. We connect with our counselors. We connect with our leaders on each site that can have those inroads and connections with our students. When you look at a program like this, it's what are the advantages? And as a former principal, I could go through and see which students on my campus or my former campus was this a better fit for? And I think it begins with those conversations and making them sure they understand of this opportunity.
And I will just add that we did a number of focus groups. We had student focus groups at each of our high schools, and we had a lot of students interested. Yeah.
What are we doing to prevent those students from becoming the underrepresented, underserved students? Like, are we doing anything prior to middle college to kind of help them excel in the schools they are beforehand?
Oh yeah, I think that starts with the moment they're in our schools. I think that starts from our elementary schools to our middle. When you look at the transitions of our counselors at the elementary, helping our students transition to middle, and even letting the counselors know at the next level, hey, let's work, make sure we have this group of students, we're keeping an eye so we can support them. And the same thing happens from middle to high. So it's not starting brand new, it's we're there to serve you from day one, because we need to meet with those students early on and create the supports that are needed.
Thank you. That's just one of my main concerns, especially after the last meeting when we had the presentation about those groups of students that are especially lacking. So thank you very much.
No, thank you.
I have a couple questions, two. So one of them is in the new model you talked about. These are high school classes taught by high school teachers. So do you envision this being new hires, TOSAs, part-time here and there? What does the model look like? Do we have an idea of that?
I think they'd be full-time, because not only would they be working with the classes that they need to teach when you're talking 3 days a week, also helping us with the internships, because we need to be out there working with our business partners to make sure the experience our students are having in that internship is meeting our needs.
So potentially full-time new hires?
Full-time. That would be my expectation. And I wouldn't say new. I think you'd have people interested on our campuses right now.
Okay.
Because we would
new
be
positions.
We
How
would be
about that?
displacing students from our own current schools, which would adjust little staffing models.
Okay. And then the second question, I think you alluded to this. Would these students then have opportunity to join any Palomar college clubs, or would they be looking at forming their own clubs?
I don't think we've answered that question yet in our planning. So I think what we have said is that all of the services at Palomar would be available to our students because they would be college students. But in addition, we might have some club activities that could join up with college clubs as well.
In a few of the models we have looked at, the students are able to join the college clubs.
Sure.
But then you also have some more clubs that are more separate just for the high school students. That are
And
there.
there's 16 versus maybe significantly older, so.
You are correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So it wasn't clear to me, I thought you had said that the classes would be intermixed, but there's.
The high school classes they would be taking are for the high school only. So they would be taking their English and social science. So we're talking U.S. history, and then your civics government classes. That would be taught by a high school teacher. And your English, your junior level English, and your senior level English by a Poway Unified High School teacher. The remainder of those classes would be taught by Palomar staff.
And those are the electives and that, or
Math, science, electives, yeah.
Thank you.
First, thanks for the thoughtful presentation. It was clear how much work was put into that and thought that went into that. And thank you for the inflection. It was very nice, very well delivered.
So what you're saying is the PowerPoint wasn't up to Doug's standards.
For what you may. For what you may. You had said you anticipate about 80 students per grade level participating in this, juniors and seniors. And the level of interest that you said has already been expressed in this, do you anticipate the formation of some sort of admissions panel? Is that competitive? Do students get excluded? What does that look like?
I think that those are some of the details that we're working out in the agreement that we're trying to bring forward in February. So that's going to be part of the business affiliation agreement. But it would be a panel of Poway Unified and Palomar folks who would serve on some kind of, students would apply, and then there would be a panel, is basically what we're conceiving of as right now.
But what we've heard from schools that have gone down this route is that you really want to go through and see what the students are putting in the application, because often it is the parent that wants the student attending this school, and the student would rather be at the comprehensive school. So this is a program where the student really has to be invested, because it is a different model.
But I think that the panel, the interviews are really what addresses that. So most of the schools that we've looked at will have an interview process for students as they apply, not just a paper application.
So it's not necessarily everyone gets in just because they want to get in. There will be some people just won't get in.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm kind of passionate about bringing other opportunities for kids that don't fall into that model of our schools that have 2,000 kids and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited about this. I do have a couple of questions. What kind of degree do they graduate with?
Well, they graduate first with their high school diploma, and then it depends on their number of units that they've completed with a community college towards that degree.
Okay, so it's not like a given AA, or it depends on how hard they work.
So there's some models that are 4-year middle colleges where students will graduate with an AA degree. Because we're targeting a 2-year model right now to start, our students will have at least 1 year of college under their belts by the time that they graduate, or they could be well on their way to a certificate program. And so I think what we would start to look at are different pathways for students, and then what courses would they take in order to complete that. But they'll definitely have a leg up when they graduate from a middle college.
I'd heard, and this is just people in the community, and I don't understand it, is if they've gone and gotten credit from Palomar, do they lose the ability to go to Miramar later and have a free first year, or is there any issue with switching community colleges and having that first year free?
So I think what you're referring to is the Promise program. And so Palomar College is one of the college districts that has waived, so dual enrollment courses don't count against students who are applying for Palomar Promise. But that's a local decision. So every community college district would make its own determination. But when we were talking about the purpose of the CCAP agreement, and AB 288 was really to get rid of some of those barriers to dual enrollment. That's one of the barriers that it's trying to eliminate, so that students who can take college courses and it isn't something that counts against them as they apply to colleges in the future.
Okay.
But we would need to check with Miramar and the San Diego Community College, because that's a different.
I had heard that, and I didn't quite understand what would be at jeopardy, and I'd hate for a kid who's 16 to ruin that opportunity of going to Miramar for something later on. So, are we concerned about transportation to the new facility?
I think we are. I think the vast majority of our students would self-transport, especially when we're looking at internships, which would be off-site. So transportation is going to be something that we really need to look closely at. There is public transportation very close to the facility, not on the regular schedule that I think that we would all hope for. But we have also, been in communications with Director Tim Purvis to look and see what options would we also have from Poway. So it's something we, as Kathleen and I were talking earlier. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we don't want transportation to be the reason that a student can't come. So one of the things that we're looking at in the budget is how would we support transportation to internships, transportation to school. So it's one of the considerations that we have on the table.
And my final question, I promise, is if there was a kid who did have a certain skill, be it a runner, football, arts, is there any way that they have any cooperation with any of our high schools to be able to go and participate in any of those activities?
This would be a different school that they would be enrolled in, so they actually would not be enrolled in those high schools. So those students, to me, can always attend college concurrent classes, and they wouldn't be a part of the middle college program. When you look at the schedule, I can't see how they would have the time to go back and be a part of that based upon the time that they would be in both college classes in the afternoon or with their internships.
Okay.
So that would be a real difficult one. But overall, it wouldn't be a multi-school agreement for them to play at this time, but it might be something we look at in the future once we have a better grasp of this. You're welcome.
I had a whole bunch of questions answered by Ms. Osborne earlier today, so I appreciate that. And my fellow board members asked a bunch of my questions too. I am a little bit concerned that the CCAP agreement is very nonspecific. I did not at all get the format we were talking about from the language in there. Is that going to get more specific, or can we expect to see the specifics in this business agreement?
You'll see the specifics in the second agreement. The CCAP is really kind of a high-level agreement, and it's an agreement that that agreement is modeled off of agreements up and down the state. So it's made to be broad in its
Very
scope.
flexible.
Very flexible. So that's why we were trying to say we want to start with this middle college and then we can move out. That's why we determined the scope to be to our middle college high school, and we wanted to look at a pilot period of 3 years.
Thank you. That makes some sense. We're being judged now on school dashboards. What happens with these students where we're looking at A through G and AP participation and all of those little things that we're getting judged on these days?
Well, every class they take will be A to G.
Okay,
But
so
once
they
the-
cover that. They
yeah.
cover their A through Gs in this. What about AP? Because these college courses don't count as AP. So we're going to
They
lose.
would not count as AP, so that's something we'd need to look at in AP participation. So
So the state is encouraging middle colleges, but they're not giving us a
But I'm
pass
won-
on
yeah.
students.
I'm wondering how they would look at
Yeah.
how that dashboard would look for a middle college, and that's something we'd have
Right,
to review.
I would hate to see
Yeah.
that counted against us. We're doing something innovative.
Yeah.
And I would hate to see us dinged for that. I guess the only other question, and I know this will probably all be in the business agreement, but what's this going to cost? It's obviously a cost sharing with Palomar. We're paying for our teachers who go there, and we have to pay for the books and materials, even for the college courses for our students. Are we going to have some estimate of that? And how about the ADA collection? How does that work out? Is there a cost sharing there? And will that all be in the business agreement? Because I would love to understand the cost to us.
So the cost and the budget will be part of the business agreement, and so that's where we're working on that piece now. But I think the other part of your question, now I'm blanking on it. So the CCAP agreement you were saying was
ADA.
ADA,
Yeah.
that's right. So the way the structures work, the CCAP agreement actually sets up so that both entities can receive ADA. And
I was
so
reading that. I just didn't understand how that would
we'll
work.
have to meet a minimum day requirement, and the minimum day for middle college is less than a traditional high school. We'll be able to meet that minimum day requirement, so the students who are enrolled in the middle college we would earn a full ADA for them, and the college will also collect apportionment for the time that the students are in their courses.
Oh, good.
And they
Yes.
would also be getting
So
that
it's a
through their
win-win.
internships, meeting those minute requirements.
Fantastic. Okay, so they do, the state is encouraging us to do this. They're giving us some bonus for doing this for our kids. Okay, that's great, because I would hate to think that they're saying, yeah, do it, but we're going to ding you everywhere. Okay, that's good to know that this is, they truly are trying to encourage us to do something great for our kids. So thank you for your work on this. I think that takes care of most of my questions for now. Did anybody have anything else that popped up while we were talking?
Are you looking at school colors? Because I noticed that this is all Westview in here.
The whole thing.
I want you to know that I did bring that up to Ms. Porter, but no, there's blue. I see a little Rancho Bernardo. We got Poway green down here at the left.
First slide.
And we'll go back to blue again, a little Del Norte. Just might be the wrong blue.
I was happy to see you change your acronym to Poway Community College because it used to be middle college, high school. We already have an MCHS.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's been some really bad names thrown out there too, so. Couple quick, very much no. No, we're not doing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
very exciting then. Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Can't wait
Thank
for
you.
next month. Okay. 8.3 has to do with this beautiful thing here too. Approval of college and career access pathways, CCAP. a dual enrollment partnership agreement between Palomar Community College District and Poway Unified School District, first reading. Oh, did I just do that one?
No.
We have two of those.
Yeah,
we get two.
it's-
All right.
That's
Ms. Osborne.
Thank you. So I think we've just heard in great detail about the purpose of the CCAP agreement. It's the contingent on the dual enrollment in the middle college, high school, and any dual enrollment opportunities is contingent on having a college and career access pathways agreement. The CCAP will serve the purpose of offering and expanding dual enrollment opportunities for students that may not already be college bound or who are underrepresented in higher education. We believe this agreement will provide greater opportunities for our students seeking pathways from high school to community college and beyond. This is a first reading.
Any more questions here? All right, we covered
So,
it.
well,
so
just a quick
thank you.
second. So
Oh,
this
okay.
is only about the middle college. This isn't like dual enrollment going on to campuses or anything like that.
Our focus in this first portion is on middle college, but with this agreement, it does open up the opportunities for dual enrollment. Right now, we're focusing our energies on the middle college, but this agreement also allows us to examine dual enrollment opportunities. This is step one.
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. Wow, we're in the 12.0s. Board member reports. We'll start down at the end with Ms. Akins.
Thank you. Good evening to the remaining members of our audience and colleagues of the dais. Happy New Year! My monthly report is unusually brief this month, but the crazy calendar of events has just started back up as we enter 2020. The transition from December to January seems like it has been uneventful for me. My holiday break was filled with family, love, and lots of rest. My sister is back in town and took a break from her studies at UPenn to enjoy the holidays and New Year with my mother and I. It's crazy to think that both of us will be graduating this year. I don't think my mom has fully processed that either. So far, since I've returned from school, I have been doing my best to help Measure P pass so our district can use the bond measure money to help improve our school's infrastructure. I have been promoting 18-year-olds in the district to register, and I have also been reaching out to ASB presidents at other schools within the district to see if they can do the same. This week is the finals week for RBHS and Westview. So this week has been filled with stress, sleepless nights, and hard work, which will always be worth it in the end. RB's Black Student Union helped with finals this quarter by offering Smarties candies to students at lunch break during our two main finals days. I look forward to a new quarter at RB, a brand new year, and new opportunities for our students within the district. I was also able to stop by a PTSA meeting this week to hear about all the good work they have been doing, as well as promoting Measure P. The Superintendent Student Advisory Committee is hosting the No Place for Hate district-wide leadership conference for middle and elementary schools. Save the date, March 11th, 2020, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Location TBH, or to be determined. Sorry, not TBH. And spread the word, please. And with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone. We're already into the first couple of weeks back to school, but it feels like to me that we haven't had a break at all. It's already gotten very busy. Looking at all the achievements across the district already. I'll highlight some of my own district-related activities in my report tonight. Last week, I visited Painted Rock Elementary and was impressed by the transformations that Principal Andrew Gurgerich and his staff and community have made there. The school is vibrant and has a very inviting feeling. I learned a lot about Painted Rock culture, priorities, and vision for its students. Many thanks to Andrew for taking time to show me around. Board member Michelle O'Connor Ratcliffe and I attended the National Electrical Contractors Association Installation of Officers Dinner. This is an annual dinner that provides a practical networking opportunity for us every year. Last year, we were seated next to the outreach coordinator, Christina Marquez, who is collaborating with our CTE for internships and apprenticeships. And this year, we were seated next to the electrical contractor, Southland Electric, which is the electrical contractor working on our Oak Valley new classroom building project. And that made for very interesting conversation through the dinner. Speaking of Oak Valley, I was delighted to join the Falcon community in signing one of 2 interior steel beams. This created such a memorable experience, and they will now forever be part of the Oak Valley landscape. I think I was more excited than the students were. I don't think they fully grasp how cool that was. I have also attended several Measure P community information sessions throughout the district. These are going on to help throughout the district to help our community better understand the bond structure, facilities need, as well as how school funding works in general. So we're doing a lot of work to just educate the community, and I think they're going to come out and support us for that. On Monday, I attended a monthly meeting of the San Diego School Boards Association Region 17 Delegate Assembly meeting. And I have news to share. I have been appointed to the executive committee in the legislative position. Additionally, I'll be helping with the Honoring Our Own Awards dinner. I think they appointed me to the executive committee so that I could help with the Honoring Our Own dinner. I think they needed a volunteer there. Our meeting on Monday had a guest presentation on Newland Sierra, a development project just north to us, partially because they have an interest in providing some dedicated housing for teachers. So they wanted to see whether we would be willing to support. We did discuss student scholarships that will be awarded at the Honoring Our Own dinner, and they announced that they're accepting scholarships for graduating seniors that are looking at the teaching profession. We'll have an application out soon. And I heard a brief update on the governor's proposed budget. I do plan on attending the CSBA budget brief next week to get more details on that. And with that, I will close my report. I hope everyone has a wonderful start to the new year. Thank you.
Happy New Year. And over the holiday break, it was the time to gather with family and friends, and also an opportunity to speak with and listen to community members and constituents. So I wanted to share some of the products of those conversations, and some of the issues that were topics of conversation from community members. Obviously, the Poway, City of Poway water issue loomed large, and that affected our district as well. And the Poway Performing Arts Center, as was mentioned tonight, also is an issue of ongoing concern as to how that is going to be dealt with, and certainly I think the City of Poway plays a large role in that. So the bond, obviously, was something that people had thoughts or opinions or concerns or questions. And some of the issues with the bond that came up were how the bond oversight committee would be chosen and who would be chosen. And I think some of the concerns were based on history and issues with whether the committee provided who was chosen, how the committee members were chosen, and whether they provided proper oversight. Some of the fiscal issues are the ongoing ongoing structural deficit with our general operating budget, and one of the concerns that I see is here we are, we're in times of surpluses. We've been running surpluses for the last several years at the state level, and yet deficits here at the district level. And that's when times are good right now. And at the same time that we're running deficits during state surpluses, we still haven't gotten our class sizes down to the pre-recession levels. So there's an imbalance there. And so people are looking at some these fiscal issues, even though they don't directly relate to the bonds, the funding that comes from the bonds that goes to infrastructure construction projects. They're looking for fiscal discipline there. And there are concerns that are brought up with regard to that, and then there have also been, along with that, parents concerned about some of the ballooning class sizes at the high school level, where they're exceeding, for core classes, they're exceeding 40 students. There seems to be a slow creep at this point. So I mention these not in order to introduce a discussion or ask for direction, but just because these are constituents' comments and concerns that, bear our hearing. So, thank you.
Before I forget, just to tail on to that, I was going to bring it up earlier during Mr. Little's report. Pardon me, was hoping that perhaps if the governor's budget is showing roughly $1 million net for the district that was unanticipated based upon the projections we were using, that at a minimum we would just take that extra million and apply it toward our structural budget deficit as a start. That's as an aside. I'm sure we'll come back to that at another point in time. I hope everybody had a great holiday season and a happy new year. I can't believe it's been roughly 4 weeks since the last board meeting. I've been very busy going to a lot of things relating to the Measure P committee and helping out with that effort to pass it, by the way, not to pass it. But during the past couple weeks, I've had the pleasure of stopping by Turtleback Elementary and surprising the new principal on his first day at Turtleback. Just put them right at ease, right at ease. Every principal loves it when a board member pops by, especially on their first day on the job. And then it was fun to roll down the hill and check out the good work that Balfour Beatty's doing over at Oak Valley with the building and their architects over there. Just a fantastic project. I missed the beam signing though. Was that just? Yeah, I missed it. Sorry. But great project going on there. And then more recently, it's been fun participating in some of the community discussions surrounding Measure P at Mount Carmel last night and just the other day at Black Mountain Middle School. So. Very brief report.
I'm the fourth one to say Happy New Year. I had my boys home. I forgot how much they ate, so I kind of lived at the grocery store over the vacation. I have just a couple of fun things to mention. I have my office manager. Her son is graduating from boot camp, and his third grade teacher, his fifth grade teacher, and his ag teacher all went to graduation. And that says a lot about our Poway school. So yay, props to Garden Road and Poway High for having teachers that reach out like that and care. So that was super cool. Also, Poway High girls water polo is playing New Zealand today. So it's nice to have an international game going on in our district. Like everyone else, Measure P is high on the mind from 2 meetings yesterday to lots and lots of others. I get to meet with the 80-year-old ham operators and all sorts of interesting folks in the community, and it's really been interesting just to talk about their perceptions, and their questions have been very interesting, and I've learned a lot from them, and hopefully they've learned a lot from me. And it's really good to get out there and educate, because a lot of people have a lot of misunderstandings of what we are dealing with and what our needs are. So on that, I'm sure we'll be getting back to work tomorrow on that.
Measure P is being promoted over ham radio.
I just want to say I would never visit a principal on the first day. Just to tag on to the National Electrical Contractors Dinner I attended with Dr. Patel, in reconnecting with our table mates from last year, he was reminding me that they have a Kearney Mesa campus where they offer a 5-year training and apprenticeship program where you train and work and take classes, and at the end of 5 years you come out with an AA. Nice option for our students, perhaps, and I know we're looking for that workforce pathway. Great paying jobs. I think that's something that we've started connecting with them about, and hopefully we'll. I see you, Kathleen. Yes. Keep pursuing that, because he was reminding me. I forgot about that one. If you remind me every year, I'll remind everyone once a year too, and we'll get there eventually. I too had a lot of meetings explaining Measure P to various constituencies around our schools. So principal coffee chats, PTAs, foundation meetings, you name it. A lot of people had not heard a thing about it, so it was eye-opening for them. And some had questions. I think I got the softball groups, though. The easy questions. I got this. It's good to talk to people and have them nod along and say, yes, how can we help? So good vibes from the meetings I've been in. I attended earlier this week the Community Advisory Committee, CAC, for special education. And they had a great presentation by Kristen Stratton on dignity and inclusion. And I just wrote down a couple of quotes that she had in her slide deck that she shared with everybody that I know that Mr. Mizell already tweeted one out, but I want to share both of the ones that I wrote down. The first is, when you include all kids, you will be a life changer and have your life changed. And the other one that was in the tweet, when someone is included, truly included, no one questions their presence, only their absence. It was a great presentation. This is the kind of stuff that makes me a little bit teary, so I'm, hiding my face until I can get myself together. But it really does reinforce our district's current efforts to make true inclusion the norm rather than the exception in our schools. And these volunteers with the CAC are doing great work in partnership with our special education directors and Mr. Mizell, so that was great. I don't teach classes on Tuesday night this semester, so I will be at more of their meetings, and that's a great group. I was at the Mandarin Immersion Program parent information meeting this morning at Adobe Bluffs Elementary, and they had a second one this evening during our meeting, but that was a great turnout. It is really nice to see that in the third year, or coming up on the third year of that program, that there is plenty of interest, and I'm sure that they will have overflowing wait list again for that program in the third year they'll be moving on to. So they'll have K1, 2 next year. Yeah, it was a large group this morning, and they were anticipating about triple that number for tonight. Last thing I want to note that I've been talking in the community, and I've invited everybody up here, but I'll do it again. I'm looking forward to the Ability Awareness Celebration, the 12th or 13th annual, I'll have to look it up, at Adobe Bluffs Elementary. Will be on Monday, January 27th. We've got 5 great speakers with each with a different disability. They'll be presenting to all of our kids. Back by popular demand, we have the Grammy Award-winning musician who plays the guitar with his toes because he was born without arms. That's the one the kids love. They always want to know, is he coming, is he coming, is he coming? So we're, not this year, but next year. So he'll be here this time around. Very exciting. The Friendship Club from Malcolm Carmel High School will be there this year, too, so we're excited to have them. You are welcome to stop by the school anytime. Between 8 and 11, there will be 2 sessions, so about 8 to 10:30 or about 8 to 10 for the first, and 10:15 to 11:50 or 12:50, whatever. Come on by, stop in, check out some of the speakers. Just make sure you check in at the front office, and that'll do it. Off to our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you all had an opportunity to be rested and revitalized now upon your return from our winter break. Pretty soon we're going to be off for our February break. We have some recognitions to note to present to the board this evening. I'd like to ask that you please look at your board packet for the full description in 12.2 A and B. I encourage you to read them. In the interest of time, though, I'd like to highlight one in particular. Sunset Hills Elementary School Safety Patrol Team was awarded the top patrol for San Diego PD Northeastern Division. And Maddie Smith was chosen for the prestigious colonel position, the only one out of 2,000 fifth and sixth grade students in nearly 90 schools across San Diego. So congratulations to Maddie and to Sunset Hills Elementary School, and thank you all for your hard work in keeping our students and our families safe before and after school. This year, PUSD is participating in the National Speak Up Survey to help us improve education technology and learning for all students. Our Tech and Innovation Department sent out an email last week on how to participate. The survey window is open till January 22nd, so I ask that you please participate. We are trying to have at least 50% participation rate of students, staff, and parents. Next month, we will be kicking off our LCAP survey using Thought Exchange once again. You'll recall that Thought Exchange is our online platform that allows people to confidentially share their thoughts and also weigh in on others' ideas and points of views and collectively decide what should be the priorities for the district. The platform is simple to use from any smartphone, tablet, or computer. We had a huge participation rate last year of over 10,000 students, staff, and parents who weighed in, which was the most ever. Everyone will be receiving an email when the survey period kicks off, and I hope that you'll all participate. January is also School Board Recognition Month. So I'd like to thank all of our school board members and trustees for your service, your dedication, and your commitment to all of our students, our staff, and our community. We know that you certainly do not get paid anything compared to the hours that you put in to this position. I always tell everybody this is one of the best boards ever. They're very diverse in their thinking. They're extremely intelligent and smart. Anybody says that they rubber stamp anything is being completely fooled, because trust me, they make me work for my money. But they do bring a lot of diversity, and they do all have certain interests that is very diverse to their positions in our work in the district. So I appreciate them always challenging our thinking, pushing our work, and always looking out for the best interest of our kids in our schools. I want to say that Monday we will be celebrating Martin Luther King Day. It's a holiday for all of us. Leading up to this day, many of our classrooms have incorporated learning about Dr. King. And for example, students at Rolling Hills Elementary Schools presented a program about Martin Luther King at their Friday Flag last week. Fifth graders read their MLK quotes. And I want to end with one of my favorite quotes from Dr. King. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. So let's make 2020 another great year. And I want to thank you all and have a wonderful 3-day weekend.
That brings us to my favorite agenda item, 14.0, adjournment. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held Thursday, February 13th at 6 p.m. right here. And with that, we are adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry, at 7:53.